Hi, fourth graders. Mr. Holt here for another read aloud from our National Parks of the USA book, nonfiction book. Next week we'll start a novel. We've been moving kind of from the east coast of America out towards the west, reading about some of the national parks. We've done one from each region so far. The last two that we read are now going to be from the west coast, the western portion of the United States of America. Of course, where we live in Washington State, we have 3 national parks. We're going to read 2 of them. Redwood National Park in California is another one located in the west, as well as a few others in California. And of course, Yosemite, the one that I wrote my report for, the Google Classroom, Yosemite National Park in California. But this is the west. Feel small as an ant as you explore the majestic open spaces or walk beneath the towering trees, mountains, and volcanoes of the American West, where the national park idea was born. In the Sierra Nevada, giant hunks of granite shoot up into the sky, and canyons plunge to the earth. In groves of the world's biggest and tallest trees, sunbeams filter down through the canopies as they would in a beautiful temple. Volcanoes tower over the land, some still steaming, and no one knows exactly when they'll erupt again. While the parks are full of big league splendor, they also have tiny charms too. Be still and quiet as a hawk to spot shy wildlife from trout to bobcats. Listen to the sounds of nature, from bees buzzing in high mountain meadows to wind rushing over bare pinnacles to waves crashing on the magnificent Pacific shores. Heading to, here's Yosemite and one of the waterfalls. I kind of mentioned in my report that there's a lot of those, as well as the big rocks. This is Yosemite here. Olympic National Park is in Washington State. I'm not going to read it. Well, I should make sure the other 2 I was going to read. Not all of them that are mentioned have their own pages. In fact, the ones I was going to read don't. Interesting. Maybe we'll read one of the Hawaiian volcanoes tomorrow. In Washington State, I mentioned that we had Olympic National Park over right along the coast. We've talked about it a little bit before when we were looking at the geography of Washington. It is one of the only temperate rainforests in the world. We also have the North Cascades National Park. We've talked a lot about the Cascade Mountains and what they do for our state and how they kind of affect the weather. We saw a lot about how rainy it was on the other side of the Cascades, but not so rainy this side of the Cascades because of the rain shadow effect. And then we also have Mount Rainier, which erupted in 1980, I believe. Many of your family members probably remember the eruption of Mount Rainier. It was a big event. Mount St. Helens erupted. Mount Rainier is the second tallest mountain in the lower 48. It's one of the tallest mountains in the United States of America, and is kind of famous for its hiking and climbing that it offers. Mount St. Helens is the one that erupted. We are going to read the only one that's in this book, as far as it has its own pages, is Olympic National Park from Washington State. So we'll read about it. Olympic National Park. Zip up your raincoat. You're in a deep, dark, silent rainforest that smells of cedar. More than 12 feet of rain drench this forest each year. That's a ton of rain. Which is why the ground feels like a sponge under your feet. Bright orange mushrooms polka dot the ground, and ferns and mosses carpet every surface. This national park also has 2 other wildly different landscapes. On the coast, wade into a tide pool to see what you can find. Anemones. Mussels, sea stars, and crabs. One visitor found a fossilized sea star between 5 and 24 million years old. Within miles of the shore, the mountains rise more than 7,000 feet. So you go right from the ocean, right from the beach, to mountains that are all of a sudden 7,000 feet tall right near there. So it's a very stark difference from being on the coast, and all of a sudden the Olympic Mountains rise right up out of nowhere. Very impressive mountain range. Walk through meadows with wildflowers taller than you, as marmots and chipmunks dart into holes. So much snow falls here that you can still go sledding in July. Olympic National Park is right here on the west coast of Washington, which goes of course, part of the west coast of America. So it's in Washington State. It was founded in 1938 and is 922,000 acres. Some of the plants and wildlife in Olympic National Park. We have the fiddlehead fern. Lots and lots of plant life in the the temperate rainforest that is Olympic National Park. So a lot of greenery. Here is an Olympic marmot. Listen for sharp whistles as you hike in a high mountain meadow. That's the sound of an Olympic marmot, a playful roly-poly cat-sized rodent. Avalanches occur in the steep mountain sides of the Olympic Mountains in Olympic National Park. Here's a Sitka spruce, a type of evergreen tree. This evergreen tree likes the cool, humid weather on the Pacific Northwest coast. Its wood has been used for everything from musical instruments to World War II airplanes. The Sitka spruce. These big yellow slugs. When I've visited this area in the past, one of the things I always remember is seeing these huge yellow slugs. Seems like everywhere, every few feet you step, there's these huge yellow slugs, these banana slugs. Watch your step. Bright yellow banana slugs cross trails on tracks of their own slime. These mollusks are well, I'm not going to read that part, but interesting information about the banana slugs. Orca whale can be found in the bays right off the coast of Olympic National Park. Cow parsnip, growing up to 8 feet tall, cow parsnip blooms in huge rounds of tiny white flowers. A grouse. These were the fool birds. There's different types of grouse, so it may not be the same species, but when we read Hatchet, he talked about the fool birds that were hard to see, but they would not even move until he was pretty much right on top of them. So here's a species of grouse. A Pacific harbor seal can be found with a hardy layer of blubber. This marine mammal stays warm in frigid waters all year round. Spot seals frolicking near shore or sunning themselves on the rocks. Salmon, delicious. Olympic mountain milk vetch, another type of plant. The sea stacks, pretty wild looking rock formations off the coast of Washington, right off the coast or the shores of Olympic National Park. These big old sea stacks are out there, just the way that they've worn down are pretty cool looking. But that's Olympic National Park within Washington State. I thought there was going to be more from Washington State that we could actually read about. But tomorrow we'll read either some of the ones found in California that I already mentioned, or there are some in Alaska as well as Hawaii as well. So maybe we'll read about Mount Kilauea in Hawaii. It might be a kind of cool one. Oh, maybe it's in there. We'll see. We'll figure it out. And next week we'll start a novel. Good to see you guys. I hope you enjoyed. See you later.